So it is a big one today. We are talking the Transformer Tuesday, the Hasbro Pulse reveals that we had today, and it was a stacked one. A whole bunch of items were shown off, a lot of new stuff we have never seen before in certain designs, molds, or otherwise. They were able to beat even the Stolen Factory stuff. And we have a full house. We have all 6 of the Hasbro members of the design team and marketing team that were available in this stream. We had Delaney, we had Isabella, BMAC, Evan, Mark, and Sam. And there was a lot of cool stuff that was shown off. And today with the Transformer Slag podcast, we're going to do this all throughout the day. Multiple segments. Be sure to be with me today. Stay tuned for that. We're going to have multiple uploads, so be sure to check out the channel and the podcast all throughout today. And we're going to start because we got a lot. We got a lot to cover. We're going to break this down into individual ones. And we're going to start first with our deluxes from Studio Series that are based off of the more movie-related stuff. So let's talk about the deluxes and Voyagers. The first one we're going to cover, and it's my boy, and it's quite the one here. Let's talk about Studio Series, the Last Night Deluxe Class Hot Rod. And this was designed by Tomo-san and Sam from Hasbro, Tomo-san from Takara Tomy. And Sam goes on to claim that this is going to be something on the equivalency of a mini masterpiece. That's how much he is confident in this figure and what they have designed together. I mean, man, let me tell you something. As someone who's a big Hot Rod fan and just buys everything of that character and saw the figural evolution of that character throughout the years and that version from the movieverse, I mean, the original Deluxe was good, but it did have its limitations of its price point and everything like that that existed back then. And from what I see with this one here, man, they really were able to pull something off. Sam says here that they did some amazing work crunching down all the kibble and being able to tuck everything away so you have this super sleek bot mode. But on the flip side of it, be able to make a absolutely super accurate car mode that not only is just a super accurate car mode, but it scales. There's no compromise that the robot mode pieces might be sticking out in a piece or place. Sam is a big car guy, so he was kind of obsessed with making that whole licensed proportioned vehicle mode, and it looks fantastic. The Lamborghini, it's the Centenario, which is, I mean, it's a Lambo, and Lambo has always had a amazing relationship with both Takara Tomy and Hasbro. So it's just awesome to see something that looks that good. And again, the fact that they're able to really, you know, even though they're sticking in the same price point, the deluxe price point that even the original Last Night Hot Rod came from, they were still able to pull something off that looks different and even better. And I mean, the budget, man, they really figured something out. They really did. In a world of inflation and plastic costs becoming more expensive, they figured some way to make it even better than what they made the first time. And, you know, it's incredible. They also, like, again, Sam really wanted to emphasize, like, hey, man, it comes with the time gun, which came with Hot Rod in the movie. And, you know, he wanted to make sure that that looked really nice and was sculpted well. Like, it was just the fact that this felt like this release was a labor of love. And Hot Rod fans like me are going to be very happy to pick this up. And Sam even confidently also said that this will be the #1 figure of 2022. So that's a challenge to me, because I don't know if we'll see if we could get this figure in our hands before the end of the year. When Transformer Slag podcast, we always do our top 5 figures of each year. Me and Jaws D, we do it together. So that's a challenge, Sam, to me, to see if that is going to be the #1 figure of 2022. We shall see. The fans are going to vote too also on that one. But looks really good. I love the paint deco. I love how it looks. They got the oranges, the face paint on it too, and everything. The original one didn't really match like the color of the orange of the Last Night version that they released back in, what was it, 2014. It didn't really match that of the final product that came out. It was more of a red. So this one really kind of nails that really good. I love it. I think it looks great. The way they even did the painting on the time gun, fantastic. I'm hyped. And another one, too, that I was really curious how they were going to go about it, because the original version of it that came out during Age of Extinction was quite fantastic, and even the repaint in the Best series from Japan was also quite fantastic. Transformers Studio Series, Age of Extinction, Deluxe Class Crosshairs. Now, we talked about this when it was just a teaser, but we had no images. We didn't know how it was going to look. And now we have the images in front of us. We finally get to see how it looks. And I think he looks great, in all honesty. So what they did here to kind of change it up was the original one, how they kind of handled the trench coat gimmick that existed in the robot mode. They kind of just had like some kind of PVC vinyl plastic that was kind of hanging off the back that kind of simulated the trench coat with the original Age of Extinction figure. This time around, they figured out a way to kind of tool it into the actual body of the figure itself using an ABS plastic, and now the trench coat is even articulated. Some of the pieces on the back work also in forms of an articulated kind of trench coat. It looks really good. They even managed to kind of sculpt in his jetpack with the back kibble, so that's another nice touch too. A lot of really cool stuff here. That one was also a Sam design, but I guess he wasn't just as excited for this one, but he did mention all the kind of cool stuff in terms of the car design, how they managed to get the C7 Corvette Stingray, and how they were able to kind of pull that off, because one of the big issues that they had with some of those original Bay movies was you had a robot mode, you had an alt mode, and they didn't really think about how those things were going to reach one to the other. And if a robot mode had some kind of flair to it, like the trench coat, that added an extra element of how are we going to do that, but they were able to pull it off this time around using what they learned from the original Deluxe and then, tampering with that and making something even better. He was happy that nothing was sacrificed with the alt mode to make the trench coat gimmick. So that was a big, get for them. They were very happy with that. And they also mentioned that the bowling alley scene that Crosshairs was in, there were some other Cybertronians that were there too, and there's a teaser that potentially in the future those characters will also get done. So that's a little that's pretty cool. Also comes with the dual SMG rifles, so he could dual wield and do all his crazy stuff in when he was flying through the sky. He looks absolutely great. Again, I was very curious how they were going to improve what already was a pretty darn good toy when it was Age of Extinction. So that's awesome. Really cool. Again, fantastic. And the last one is just going to be, we already talked about Ironhide. We already talked about the Voyager, the G1 Voyager Studio Series 86 Ironhide. But they had some little fine detail, and I just kind of want to bring it up with you guys too, just so we could kind of have that in the discussion in the back of our minds. So it was designed by Kuniharu-san, Ironhide, and Kuniharu-san did some like black magic with the transformation. They really wanted to make something that wasn't a parts former like the Earthrise version, and thus in order to do that they needed to have more parts and pieces and articulation and pins in order to not have it be a parts former. So they had to bump up the price point to Voyager in order to do that, but they were also happy that they were able to keep that a van is larger than a car. So the Voyager class van mode does look like it's a Voyager class van, like it actually belongs in there, but when it transforms, it's not too out of shape and too out of place with the other Deluxes, so that he's only just slightly taller than the Deluxes, and then they work out something that's a really good robot mode, and then keeps with that, again, Studio Series real-life scale where vans should be larger than cars, as opposed to if you had a Deluxe class van, it might look a little small next to a basic kind of car, which is not the case in real life, so they brought that up too as a nice little touch. They also mentioned how his two blasters could also be made into mufflers that could be stored under the back of the alt mode, which was a nice cool touch too, or it could be used to store on multiple different areas, including the back of the robot for some kind of storage in the back of the robot mode. So you could just kind of have him, with just punching with his, bust some Deceptichops. I think he looks great. I think he looks fantastic. And they even said, well, I'm sure we're going to see his white counterpart in the future. So, I mean, it's pretty much a given. But again, Kuniharu design, really cool. I'm very impressed with what they did. And that's the Deluxes and the Voyagers from Studio Series. We got more we're going to be talking about later today. Be sure to tune in for that. But that's some really cool stuff. There's much more information and news that we're going to be covering today because of the Transformer Tuesday, as well as my own personal commentary on some of the cool stuff going on here. But yeah, we'll talk again real soon. I'll see you later today.